Rogue City hands-on preview. I actually heard that this is gonna be really good. I watched it one time. Wave, thanks so much for the gifted subs. I watched like I think a trailer or something, and the idea and everything looked really cool. So let's see if it's gonna be a cool game.
Over 35 years since he first stomped the streets of Detroit, RoboCop returns to the front lines.
I love the blood.
Don't move, creep.
Teon, the studio behind Terminator Resistance and Rambo the video game, is primed for its most ambitious 80s action movie revival yet. Set between the events of RoboCop 2 and 3, with Peter Weller reprising his iconic role, RoboCop Rogue City takes us back to old Detroit once again to clean up the streets. Promising familiar faces, a huge helping of explosive violence, and the franchise's gloriously stilted cheesy humor.
Allowing dealers to steal from each other may result in less drugs on the street.
What? That would suck!
Rogue City is
the lip syncing is so awful, but doesn't matter.
Bloody first-person shooter that takes us on an authentic trip to Alex Murphy's old haunts to chase a new threat. Rogue City opens with a now familiar satirical news segment, which is interrupted by a gang of punky thugs dubbed the Torchheads. This band of criminals is heavily tied to Nuke, the highly addictive narcotic from RoboCop 2, and they proceed to take the Channel 9 news team hostage. Enter Detroit's shiny RoboCop and his partner, Agent Ann Lewis, who are called to quell the disturbance and hunt down the gang's leader. This being RoboCop, restoring peace is done with little subtlety. Armed with his legendary Auto 9, RoboCop trudges methodically through the building, popping enemy skulls with each well-aimed shot. Despite his slow, tank-like movement, I've never played an FPS with a protagonist as slow and deliberate as RoboCop, and it took some time to adjust. He feels practically indestructible. He's so heavily armored, he doesn't need to hide behind cover. He just soaks up bullets like a sponge. And if he runs low on ammo, no problem. Just walk up to the nearest criminal and punch a hole in his face. As such, Rogue City immediately makes you feel like a boss-level threat, and none of its early enemies really stood a chance against me on normal difficulty. RoboCop can neutralize a room full of enemies within seconds, and thanks to his scanning abilities, you can sweep and clear the surroundings with ease. While this combat loop was satisfying for a couple of hours, I do question the longevity of it all. RoboCop will only get more powerful as the game progresses, and in the brief time I had with the demo, I didn't face a single enemy that posed a real threat. So where does the challenge come from? Hopefully that'll become apparent when we spend more time with Rogue City.
Yeah, like, I like the overpowered kind of feel, but I also don't like it at the same time because I feel like you're gonna get bored really quickly. You need a challenge in a video game.
After a fiery first meeting with the Torchheads, I got a brief look at how Rogue City will tackle RoboCop's other duties. Alongside fights to the death with the main gang, you take on investigative objectives to poke around for clues at crime scenes and make arrests. RoboCop has no reservations about taking out hostile foes in one fell swoop, but some of Rogue City's side quests have him restoring order by more peaceful means. In one case, I could choose a non-threatening dialogue option to convince a suspect to part with valuable information about their whereabouts of a drug dealer, rather than making him cooperate. So violence isn't the only route you can take when chasing leads. In another side quest, my main contribution was simply carrying a drunk perp to a cell as a favor to another police officer. Furthermore, public trust is earned by interacting with Detroit's inhabitants, and there's a skill tree option that allows you to open up new dialogue choices to aid in your investigations. Detroit itself feels like a city in distress. The disheveled buildings and grimy streets are ripped straight from the movies, and the delinquents that lurk on street corners are more than just set dressing. Listen closely enough and you'll pick up splinters of conversations that, when you piece them together, may provide clues about where to lead the investigation next or open up new side objectives. Rogue City is built in Unreal Engine 5, and despite a few frame drops and glitches in the preview build I played, its gloomy alleyways and neon soap shop fronts look slick and detailed. RoboCop himself looks fantastic too. Teon has taken great care to recreating every grille and compartment on his suit, and the city lights gleam on his armor when you stop.
Gotta love that the only thing they had to do is his mouth, and they still mess up the lip syncing, kinda. Like, it feels so unnatural the way he speaks.
To talk to other characters, even if there are moments where the lighting doesn't quite hit right. Noticeable camera shake and the heavy thud of RoboCop's footsteps made me feel like a hefty tank when I was stomping through the streets.
Place looks deserted. Are you sure your junkie friend didn't mix up?
Oh my god, the way you walk,
He is
it's
the
like
type who likes to mix
Brimstone in
things up.
Valorant.
We shall have to see.
Fans will immediately recognize other returning characters like Anne Lewis, but the majority of character models aren't anywhere near as realistic as RoboCop's. The Torchheads have a selection of different hairstyles and outfits to differentiate them, but you won't be paying much attention to their attire when you're caught in a firefight anyway. This rogue city is a grubby and authentic step into Paul Verhoeven's dystopian Detroit, and it springs to life on your patrols. Between quests, you can use RoboVision to scan for nearby misdemeanors like traffic violations and disorderly conduct to ensure you clean up every nook and cranny of the city as you go.
You know what? If you really think you'll find evidence of that SUX ever being here, then be my guest.
Bruh, this guy looks so on drugs. He doesn't even blink, does he?
Although RoboCop is still bound by his prime directives, I enjoyed the few occasions I was able to work around them to suit the kind of RoboCop I wanted to be. One side quest had me handling complaints at the police station, where I had the chance to decide whether to side with the individual or issue a ticket. In situations where things can turn violent, players will sometimes have the option to take a pacifist approach. There's certainly room for empathy in your interactions with the people in Detroit, and keeping them happy will increase your public trust score. Nonetheless, in the few investigations I've conducted so far, I was still met with plenty of opportunities to exercise RoboCop's silly humor, and sometimes that means being a little heavy-handed. For example, during one quest, I had the chance to utter a stiff one-liner before smashing up someone's radio because it was too loud. Was this unnecessary? Definitely, but justice was served.
You need.
I do love the environment.
RoboCop starts with a few base abilities, including night vision, a shockwave that mimics a flashbang, and the option to temporarily slow down time to clear a room quicker. Aiming down sights scans the surroundings to highlight nearby enemies to make them easier to spot, and you can also move faster, shifting from a slow, deliberate stomp to a heavy, brisk walk. Additionally, these abilities can be upgraded to improve their effectiveness and, in some cases, turn them lethal. For example, continuing to invest points in the combat branch of the skill tree eventually buffs Robo's shockwave to instantly kill enemies, whereas sticking with armor upgrades his suit so it deflects bullets to damage enemies. RoboCop's potent primary weapon, the Auto 9, has its own tab of upgrades that are unlocked throughout the game's 20 to 30 hour campaign, but I didn't get to see any of these enhancements in action. Players can also pick up firearms dropped by the city's lawbreakers and use them for a limited time. However, I typically stuck with the Auto 9 due to its reliability and unlimited ammo. There are also exploding barrels, hefty CRT monitors, and more to fling around Rogue City's destructible environments, all of which work well as makeshift grenades. I only encountered human enemies during the demo, a couple of whom wore helmets for extra protection, and some that carried exploding barrels. But more recognizable enemies...
Yeah, he walks so slow that a 10-hour game will last like 20 hours because of how slow you're walking.
Including ED-209, who featured...
Believe me, so many times I'm gonna keep like pressing shift to run.
...featured in the trailer, won't appear until later in the game. There's no escaping RoboCop's trigger-happy approach, and nor would you want to, but ultimately he's still a police officer instated to uphold the law. As such, there are several skills that build on Robo's eagle eye and lightning speed processing powers, which come in handy when you're searching for clues. Some objects, and indeed people, can be scanned to get more information during an investigation. There are also instances where you need to pause and collect a specific number of clues to analyze crime scenes. This is where Robo's deduction and engineering skills shine. Deduction provides enhanced scanning abilities, which help you detect more useful information such as safe combinations. Then, if you've leveled up your engineering skills enough, you can crack open the safes themselves. Arguably, the most interesting side of RoboCop is his psychology branch, which leans into the game's choice system. Investing enough in the skills doubles your public trust points and later lets you predict the consequences of certain dialogue choices. According to the developer, the decisions you make throughout the game will impact Rogue City's ending, although we're not sure to what extent just yet. Rogue City's game director says that some choices will determine which side characters live or die, but we'll have to wait to see how much of an impact this has on the story. Your choices also have consequences that may surface sooner than that. These can be almost immediate, such as coaxing out information that provides a lead in a case, to more subtle ripples later on. For example, letting a kid off with a warning for graffitiing may lead to you getting a favorable mention scrawled on a city wall down the line, opposed to something hostile. One thing that Rogue City doesn't shy away from is RoboCop's flashbacks to his life as Alex Murphy. This surfaces almost immediately as an ongoing malfunction, and it's something OCP is eager to fix. This side of RoboCop is clumsily handled in the movies and never truly reaches a satisfying resolution by the end of the second film, but the game's developer assured me that this will be an important part of Rogue City's story. Combined with the dialogue options and decisions players can make, I'm keen to see how Taeon dives into the lingering human fragments in RoboCop's memories, and whether they'll have a more meaningful impact on the story this time around. Overall, Rogue City has the makings of a faithful homecoming for RoboCop fans. The demo immediately nails the franchise's exaggerated badass tone, and it's pumped to the gills with humor, violence, and all of the movie's callbacks you'd hope for. However, I'm curious to see how Taeon plans to maintain RoboCop's momentum to keep combat feeling fresh and introduce more of a challenge as players unlock new abilities and upgrades. I've only played through Rogue City's opening missions and didn't have a chance to test the game on different difficulties, but I was a bit disappointed that I didn't get to see a wider variety of enemies or face a real threat that forced me to use RoboCop's full set of tools. While some of RoboCop's abilities sound promising, it's difficult to predict how much of an impact they'll have on the game's combat loop without trying them against tougher enemies. After recently watching the movies, I was excited to step into the shoes of a powerful action hero
as a kid on
through
TV.
Detroit. RoboCop certainly feels capable of doing
But I
so,
never really
but I'm concerned
sat
that
down
simply
and watched the
bulldozing
movies.
through enemies will lose its appeal quickly. I'm also intrigued by the idea of seeing more of RoboCop's interactions with other police officers and the public, but as of now, it's too early to be sure how deep Rogue City's choice system really goes. For more on RoboCop Rogue City, check out the latest trailer, and for everything else.
So I guess they just don't want to show you the whole game, and they want to just show you how it's gonna, like, once you continue with the story, because I don't know how long this game will be, but the guy just, as the guy said, he just had the initial game, so like the gameplay for the starter, so he cannot really judge upon that. So yeah. 20-30 hours? He said that? I didn't hear that. Yeah, that's a lot of time. They definitely need more variety of enemies. But also it depends on the story and how complex it's gonna be for the main, like, mission and stuff like that. Alright, looking forward to that. I might try it. Just need to see how much it is, when it's coming out and stuff like that.
Stick with IGN.
How old is this?